Okay, so now for numbers 3 and 4, we are finding each product. So now we're going the other way. We're trying to get a quadratic based on given two binomials. Okay, so do you guys, well, let's do one of each. Let's start with FOIL. Let's remind ourselves what FOIL stands for. Let's just write it over here, F-O.
First, outside, inside, last.
Easy peasy, nice. First, outside, inside, and last. Okay, so let's go ahead and use FOIL. F stands for first, so I'm going to multiply my first terms together. 4k times 4k. What's that going to give me? Connor?
60k squared.
Love it. Love that you include the k squared. O, my outside terms, 4k times negative 3. 4k times negative 3. Connor?
4k.
Positive 12k?
No, negative.
Good job. Negative 12k. I stands for inside, so 5 times 4k. Connor?
20k.
Love it. And L, 5 times negative 3. Connor?
Negative 15.
Love it. Okay, no, we're not fully simplified because where are my like terms that I can combine? Where are my like terms that I need to combine? Kaylee?
Negative 12k and 20k.
Beautiful. Negative 12k and 20k is going to turn into what? What is negative 12 plus 20? We're in the negatives, but we're adding 20. Kaylee?
It would be 8k.
Positive 8. So this whole thing simplifies to 16k squared, positive 8k, negative 15. Beautiful. Okay, so that was the FOIL method. Personally, I actually like the FOIL method better. To me, it seems a little faster. But let's go ahead and do the box method for number 4. Okay, so the box method. Give yourself a box. My first binomial is going to go on top, so 4m minus 4. Second binomial down the side, 2m positive 7. Okay, and we're just going to fill in our boxes when we multiply. Okay, so I have 4m times 2m. 4m times 2m. Kaylee?
8m.
8m.
Oh, 8m squared.
Beautiful, love it. 8m squared. Next box, negative 4 times 2m. Negative 4 times 2m. Connor?
Negative 8m.
Love it. Negative 8m. 4m times 7. 4m times 7. Connor?
28m.
28m. And negative 4 times 7. Kaylee?
Negative 28.
Love it. Love that you guys are remembering the m squareds, the m's, and the negatives. Super important. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and rewrite it over here. We had 8m squared minus 8m plus 28m minus 28. And where are my like terms I need to combine in order for this guy to be fully simplified? Where are my like terms I need to combine? Kaylee.
Negative 8m and 28.
Love it. So negative 8 plus 28, or reverse it. Think what's 28 minus 8?
20m.
20m. Positive 20m. So final answer, 8m squared plus 20m minus 28. Nice, you guys. Okay, show me a fist of 5 on factoring. What number multiplies to this, adds to that? How are we feeling? 5, I could do this in my sleep. Anywhere in the middle? Nice. Okay, like I said, factoring's hard. Okay, what about multiplying? FOIL or the box method? How are we feeling? Love it. Okay, 3s, 4s, we're at a good place right there. Okay, so now what we're gonna do, we have some quadratics here and we need to graph them. So we need to remind ourselves, because you'll notice, look at number 5, how it's written, but look at number 7, how it's written. They're written 2 different ways. So let's go to the bottom of our paper and remind ourselves of these 2 different ways they can be written. Our first way is what we call standard form. Okay, standard form is the ABC one, right? We have A is our first coefficient, followed by the x squared. B is our coefficient in the middle, followed by just the 1x or variable. And C is on the end. Okay, so that's our standard form. There's a certain way to graph them in standard form. And then, if you remember from last year, our second form is called vertex form. Okay, and this is where we have A is in front of our parentheses, x minus h squared, yeah, we have h's, and then plus k on the end. So we still have an A, but we don't have a B or C anymore. We have an H and a K. Do you guys remember which one was easier to graph last year, standard or vertex
I
form?
think it was vertex.
Vertex form, because vertex form actually tells us our vertex. Remember in vertex form that our vertex is negative h, k. And we'll talk about that more in a second. If you're like, what in the world is she talking about? It'll make a lot more sense in just a minute. Alrighty, so let's go ahead and graph these guys. Let's start out with the not so easy ones. Standard form, okay? There was a little baby formula that we had to start in order to graph this guy. Our little baby formula tells us that the x in our vertex is equal to negative b over 2a. And Eli's sighing because he remembers this. Okay, so somebody help me out. Let's, first things first, identify A, B, and C. That's going to help us. So look at our equation, our quadratic here. Who knows A, B, and C looking at that guy? Kaylee?
Wouldn't A be x squared, B is 8x, oh, and then C is plus 18?
Love it. Okay, I agree with you. What's in front of the x squared?
1x squared.
1. Okay, so our A is 1, our B is 8, our C is 18. Okay? Yeah, it's coming back to us. Okay, so now let's go ahead and plug it in. So instead of the B and the A, we're just going to plug in what we know. Negative B over 2A. Okay, my B goes on top. My B is 8, so we'll plug in 8 for the B spot. Divided by 2 times A, well my A is 1, let's plug in 1. Now we simplify. Well, on top I just have a negative 8. Divided by 2 times 1 is just 2. What is the x part of my vertex? Negative 8 divided by positive 2. Kaylee?
Negative 4.
Good job. So negative 4 is the x part of my vertex. And you're like, what in the heck's a vertex? It'll make sense in just a second. Okay, well now that we know our x, look back up at our equation, right? We can plug in what we found for x to our x spots. Okay, so now we have y equals, because now we need to figure out what y is, x squared plus 8 times x plus 18.
Oh no, we're totally wrong with this.
Oh, wait.
Okay, well I found that my x is -4, so I'm going to put a -4 in my x spots. I have 2 x spots. Okay, now that looks pretty complicated to solve out, but here's the thing. You can use a calculator as long as you type it in exactly how it looks. Parentheses, negatives, squares included. Okay, so everybody watch up here. Okay, so I'm going to type this in exactly how it looks. Let me just figure out what I'm actually typing in. Okay, so I have parentheses, -4, parentheses, squared, plus 8, parentheses, -4, parentheses, plus 18, enter,
2.
and there's my y. My y equals 2 for my vertex. Okay, so just let the calculator do the work. The tricky part is typing it in exactly how it looks. If you don't include those parentheses, you will get a different answer. Okay, but now we know our vertex. So now we can graph this guy. Okay, so our vertex is going to be placed at -4. Find -4 on your x, and then go up to +2. Okay, there's our vertex. Okay, well, what is our vertex? Our vertex is either the very bottom of the U or the very top of the U. I'll be super impressed if you can remember this. What's the little trick? Because now it's easy to graph it. Up how many? Over how many? Up how many? Over how many?
Up 1.
Up 1 over 3.
Ooh, so close.
Up 1 over
Up
2?
1, up.
Up 1 over 1.
Up 1 over 1. I was trying to go.
And then how many up, Kaylee?
3.
3. From those guys, 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1.
Oh, that's right.
On your computer, I think you'll just have to do the up 1 over 1. You don't need to remember the up 3. But remember, it's up 1 over 1, up 3 over 1. Always. It's a nice little trick. Okay? Bonus question. Is this vertex a minimum, meaning it's at the very bottom, or a maximum at the very top?
Maximum.
It's a minimum. It's at the very
I was gonna say that.
bottom. Love it. I'm impressed. Okay, let's do one more not so nice one before we get to the really nice ones. Okay, our first things first. Somebody help me out. Identify A, B, and C for my quadratic. What is my A coefficient, my B, and my C? Who thinks they have it? Gabe?
A is -1,
Uh-huh. A is 1.
B is -8, and C is 14.
Love it. Super important, super simple step, but if we can't do that, we can't solve it. Okay, so now we plug it into our little baby formula. X is equal to -b over 2a. Okay, and my b, we decided was -8. My a is +1. Now I can simplify this guy. On top, what happens when I have a double negative? A -8 turns into a? Love it. 8 divided by 2 times 1 is just 2. So what is my x part of my vertex, Kaylee?
4.
+4. Nice. Okay, now comes the what looks like a hard part, but you're just going to let your calculator do the work. We're going to go back to our equation because now it's y equals. We need to figure out what y is. X squared minus 8x plus 14 Okay, and we figured out that positive 4 was x, so place 4 in the x spots. And we can just punch this whole thing into the calculator as long as you include everything exactly how it looks. Okay, so in my calculator, I'm going to punch in parentheses, 4 parentheses squared, minus 8 parentheses 4 parentheses, plus 14, and I get negative 2.
Sorry to bother you.
You're totally fine.
Putting a dot camera here for so long.
Awesome, thank you so much. Okay, so our y is negative 2. Okay, hard part is done. We solved for the vertex. So let's go ahead and plug it into our graph. So I have positive 4 for my x, down to negative 2 for my y. And what's that trick? Up how many?
Up 1 over 1, up 3 over 1.
Nice. Up 1 over 1. Up 1 over 1. Up 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Connect those points with your U-shaped, your parabola. And there you go. Does anybody remember what happens if my A had been negative 1? Does my U still open up?
Nope, it goes down.
It would have gone down. Nice. Is the pattern still the same though? 1 and 3? Yeah. Instead, you just would have gone down 1 over 1 and down 3 over 1. All right. Enough of the hard ones. Let's go to the easy ones.
This is easy.
We love vertex form. Okay, but somebody help me out because we need to identify for vertex form A, H, and K. Who can help me identify A, H, and K? Look back at the form we wrote on the bottom. A's in front of the parentheses, H is inside, K's on the end. So what is my A, H, and K for number 7? Isaac.
1 is A, negative 4 is H, and negative 1 is K.
Love it. That's it. A, I love that he knew that there was the invisible 1 for your A. Super important. Okay, well now it's super easy from here. We know that our vertex in vertex form is always negative H, comma, K. And you're like, wait, Mrs. Campbell, why is it a negative? What do we have to do to that sign for our H? Change it. So our vertex is not negative 4, it's
Positive.
positive 4. What about my K? Do I change the sign on that one?
No.
Nope, stays the same. So 4, negative 1. And there's our vertex. Boom, done. Okay, so let's go ahead and graph it. Find positive 4 on your X. Go down to negative 1 on your Y. Same pattern applies. Up 1 over 1 on both sides. Up 1, 2, 3.
One of these
Over
problems
1.
have to be negative. Because I want to see a negative slope again.
You want to see a negative 1?
Yeah.
I didn't put a negative 1 on here. I'm so sorry. Let's see. If I did 1, up 1. Yeah, we could make 8 negative. Sure. Okay. So let's look at number 8. So Eli's requesting that we make it negative, and it's a good thing because you're going to see this on your assignment in just a second. So let's say that there's actually a negative sign out in front of those parentheses. Now, what is my A, H, and K? Kaylee.
Negative 1 is A.
Mm-hmm.
H is negative 1.
Mhm.
And K is positive 1.
Nice. Okay, well, we know that our vertex, change the sign on the H, keep the sign on the K. So what is my vertex going to be? Change the sign on the H, keep the sign on the K. Kaylee?
Positive 1 and positive 1.
Good job. Positive 1, positive 1. Let's go ahead and graph it. 1, 1. Oh, I want to do it in the same color. 1, 1. Okay, but because Eli requested that it's negative, is it going to go up 1 over 1 now?
No.
It's going to go
Down 1 over down. Down 1 over 1.
beautiful. Down 1 over 1. Down 1 over 1 on both sides. This guy would go off the graph a little bit, but that's okay. So since he's negative, he goes down. Nice. Okay, see you guys already getting on your Chromebooks. You know the drill. So go ahead.